with that, at this point in our session, we will open up the forum for any questions from the attendees. As we wait for questions to roll in, I'd like to let you know a little bit more about KPI Partners. KPI is a strategic consulting and systems implementation firm focused on OBIEE, Oracle BI applications, Hyperion, Endeca, and Exalytics. KPI has been honored as the 2013 and 2012 Oracle Specialized Partner of the Year in the area of business intelligence applications and education. KPI also won the same award in 2011 when it was known as the Titan Award. KPI is the only firm ever to win these awards in consecutive years. I encourage all of you to check out our blog at kpipartners.com/blog and subscribe to our news and events at kpipartners.com/subscribe. So our first question is from Clint, and he asks, what applications would we run on the Exalytics hardware?
Okay, I'll start with that, if you can hear me okay, Jeremiah. I think, so you would run, you definitely could run any of the BI applications, right? So we have a robust library of business intelligence applications that we actually, sell as an extension to the platform. So that would be HR applications, manufacturing applications, supply chain, order management. I mean, I think Jeremiah just touched on some of the AP work, which is a financial, Oracle BI financials. We sell that whole module that plugs in. So we actually provide applications that, are responsible for the staging, the ETL step, the population step, the reporting step. We sell a packaged application. So all of those, of course, run on the Exalytics platform. And then any other custom applications that you built or integrate those applications with would run. And then we have, the planning and budgeting products from Hyperion that would also get installed on the box. So any applications powered by Essbase could run on this environment. And then we have some ancillary products that would get installed other places for different applications. And then the Endeca application would be a custom application that you would build. Or if you've embraced the Endeca extensions, that could be installed on this box as well, that connect cleanly with EBS or CRM products or PeopleSoft products, etc. So there's tons of options on what applications could run. It could be a homegrown application, a prepackaged application, or a combination of the two. That Oracle provides or something that you built yourself. So I hope that answered the question. There might be another particular piece of software you want to run on here, which would just be you'll probably just have a different conversation on that.
And then we've got a follow-up pricing question. Is there any additional fee for licensing the additional software required for this type of implementation?
So I'll start, Gravina, and then you could jump in if you. I'll take this one. So the pricing that she communicated was the pricing for the actual hardware component. There's definitely a software price that is either a named user or a CPU-based pricing, depending on what software you would want to run on the box. So for an example, if you wanted to buy, if you wanted to buy OBIEE for all of the CPUs, you would have to buy that appropriate number of CPUs depending on the Exalytics version you selected, whether it was the T5 or the X3. Or you could buy a combination of CPUs across the different product families that we listed, being Endeca. So there is a software component, just I guess to be clear. So the pricing we talked about was more on the hardware side for OpEx and CapEx, but there's definitely a software component that would have to be purchased as well. Or an existing license might be migrated to this environment if a customer already owned those components. That's a perfect question for the sales guys at Oracle, but I appreciate you asking. Gravina, did you have anything to add to that?
I think you just hinted that. I was just going to say, if there are any specific questions, you can work with the Oracle sales teams, and they should be able to provide you all the necessary direction on what software needs to run on this, and they'll be able to provide you all those details. But if there is anything else we can help answer around that, happy to take that.
It's a very flexible pricing model and a flexible to match the flexibility that customers are doing and seeing and want with Exalytics, and that's the whole reason we brought it to market and offering in different offerings.
Tamara asks, what should we consider when deciding to go with either a BI in the cloud solution or something like an Exalytics solution?
That's that's coming up more and more, right? People are asking the pros and cons of. So I think that the number one thing that I would start with, I'd say either one, perhaps could meet your needs. The big one that we've seen is the sensitivity to the data, right? So a BI cloud offering, all the data possibly would have to exist in the cloud. Maybe not. Maybe you're feeding it on some frequency, but then that creates a little bit of latency. The data may not be 100% accurate all the time in the cloud, unless the data is originating in the cloud. But that's just an architecture you'd have to lay out. We've seen Exalytics, customers actually run them with system integrators like KPI, right? They'll buy a box and choose KPI to host it. Other folks want it inside their walls. They want it in their data center. They're aware of the benefits there. They want to have, it has to pass an internal certification level, to be to be part of their architecture. There's security folks that want to look at this box and look at how hardened it is, and that's just not possible, not as possible to do that in the cloud. I think it really also comes down to what type of maintenance you would expect. So I assume you're talking about a private virtual cloud, not a shared cloud, because obviously you'd want to be able to upgrade the software and turn on some features that are appropriate to your business without stepping on somebody else or having them step on you. So I guess in summary to that cloud question, we offer our software in a lot of different varieties, both in the cloud and on-premise. This Exalytics performance, definitely, this Exalytics product, most of the time is installed at the customer site so that they know the dedicated line to the data sets. They know the dedicated, the IP addresses are tunneling or not tunneling appropriately. They have the maximum amount of control on site. But if it's a personal virtual cloud, then I'm sure you can get there with the appropriate steps. I hope I'm answering the question. I think you have options. I think, again, it would really depend on data latency in my mind and how private the data is and how comfortable you are putting all this in the cloud. But there are definitely companies using Exalytics in an extranet fashion, and I don't know exactly where all the boxes live in those cases, but in some cases, folks are really using it as a cloud offering and storing it with system integrators and asking them to run and host it, or Oracle to run and host it. So hopefully that pointed you in the right direction, and I hope I answered the question. If not, please jump back on chat and be as specific as you want to be. Rubina, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you touched on all the points. I think it all depends on what you're looking to do with it, because it's absolutely integral to how you want to keep your data. If you want to have an on-premise model, that works, and if you're looking at some cloud offerings as well, that also works, because you have our cloud team, Oracle Managed Cloud Services team, who is taking care of those as well. And then there is an interesting model we have, which is called the infrastructure as a service as well. So that is more like an OpEx model. So basically what you could do is, it is behind the customer firewall, and you could have Oracle, provide you some of the monthly fee around that, and it can be done or in a quarterly manner or whatever you think works with you. You can work with the teams here, and they can provide you that pricing. So I think there are different ways you can look at Exalytics, because that's the flexibility we have. And but at the end of the day, I think it's all about what your business needs are. So based on that, we can come up with some flexible models for you, and see what makes sense to you. And based on the sensitivity of the data, you need to see if cloud is something, an offering which works for you, we'll be there to provide you that. But if it's something on your on-prem model, we can also work with you around it. So at the end of the day, I'd like to say that it's all about the flexibility, and that's what Oracle provides.
So I think we have time for about 2 more questions, if you guys are okay with that.
Sure.
Great. So Dennis asks, could you talk a little bit more about the different sizing options with Exalytics, in particular half rack versus full rack, and expansion capabilities for growth with Exalytics?
Yep. That's a great question. Like with Exadata and Exalogic, we do not have that option. It's one box you can buy, but you can always have, use OEM to, virtualize the box. So there are different ways by which we can have, flexibility around our software licensing around it. And it comes with 40 cores, the X3-4, and our T5-8 comes with 128 cores. So you can decide what you need to run on it. And that way, you can have a purchase made.
So Dennis, just to add on, and it sounds like you're familiar with Exadata. And the Exadata, when it originally came out, was the full machine, and then they added the half and the quarter rack. The footprint, like in the, I guess the footprint in the data center is substantially different for the Exadata components, as well as the cost of the hardware. Given our price point is so much lower with Exalytics, we believe, and the pricing folks and the engineers, that there was only one price for the hardware based on the different options, the T5 versus the X3. And what we allowed is you buy the appropriate software across the CPUs you need to run, right? So you could, in theory, have a quarter rack, half rack in terms of software, right? I think we have minimums, but at the end of the day, the expansion would happen as you just turned on more CPUs with the software if you did not want to license the software for all of the CPUs out of the gate. And then when you want to step into expansion, we would encourage you would buy multiple units at this time. Some customers are evaluating that own 2 or 3 different X3 boxes, the smaller version of Exalytics, to maybe consolidate that on a T5 box. And they're running through some cost models and how comfortable they are moving from Intel to Spark. We support both. But at some point, if you bought 5 or 6 different Exalytics boxes of the smaller version, perhaps the larger one is a better buy. I mean, you guys could run the numbers on that from the hardware piece. Again, the software doesn't change dramatically because you license the CPUs that you plan to use, and then as you need more, you would extend your license or expand your license to use more of the CPUs, kind of on demand, right?
Yeah, and I'd also like to add, it comes with, our X3-4 comes with 2 terabytes of RAM and 2.4 terabytes of flash and 5.4 terabytes of the hard disk drive. So these are the flexibility, when you try to partition the box, you can get that with that. And I think these are the advantages with Exalytics has. And as Adam already touched on, that the price point is so very competitive that I think this is the value for your money.
An important thing, Jeremiah, before we go to the next question, because Dennis, just like the other engineered systems, when you buy an engineered systems for Oracle, you're not just buying the box. I mean, we strongly include, that you have you include the hardware setup, right? We have a hardware person come powered on, rack it in your data center, or place it where it should be. Then we have an ACS step where we actually come in and configure the box with the software just to make sure we're starting exactly like every other customer, rather than saying, here's the box, put whatever you want on it. We know the best practices. We know the recommendations, especially with OVM, and you want to put half of it for Essbase and half of it for OBIEE or half for Endeca, or whatever, or I only want to use half the box. I don't want to use the whole box because I'm only going to license software for half the box. So those steps are critical, I think, to getting, as Jeremiah showed, a proof done in 4 weeks, rolled out, tremendous value. It didn't go on for 4 weeks of configuration, then followed up with a migration to the production box, and then we did some testing to prove out if it really was going to do what we thought. We were able to narrow that timeline to get as efficient as possible to get the results and hopefully the benefits to the customer.
Right, I think that's a great point, that you're not just going to be left high and dry, and Oracle's going to hold your hand through the initial steps in the process. So, okay, we'll wrap up with this final question. Casey asks, when is it an appropriate time to consider an Exalytics implementation? Should we wait until an upgrade?
Okay, I'll start on that one. This is Adam again. So I think an upgrade is definitely a good. I guess a couple things. So there's some customers have been with OBIEE for 14 plus years. You do have to get to a certain version. You have to get to an 11G version. So if customers are on 10 or OBIEE 10, then they would have to make a migration step, to an Exalytics certified version of the software. We've made that 11 and greater. If you're already on 11 and you're doing an upgrade, that would definitely be a time to introduce Exalytics, but I would do it before you're ready to flip the switch, so to speak, right? Because I think you want to do some testing, and as I hope I suggested, there's some additional features on the software that you're probably not taking advantage of that you would want to enable. So I think even an existing project should be viewing Exalytics as not doing an upgrade, meaning any other functional changes other than moving the software release and then taking advantage of those features. You'll probably want to change. You might want to have the initial go out just to show the users how much faster it is, but my guess is you're going to want to do some other easy win improvements as part of that next rollout of the next generation, the next version. So I mean, I could say all the time is the right time for Exalytics, but no, you want to phase it into an existing project, within a few weeks. Depending on where you're starting from and what version you're on, it might take you a couple upgrades of the software to get on the Exalytics version. So KPI has been great with helping customers do that as well. So hopefully that answered that question. Jeremiah, I'll turn it back to you.
That concludes the Q&A portion of the event. If you want to learn more about Oracle Exalytics or KPI's Exalytics Lab for proofs of concept, please reach out to us through kpipartners.com/Exalytics, and we'll have a member of our customer care team assist you with any further questions you may have. Also, remember to download a free copy of our latest ebook titled A Bunch of Silly Questions You Were Afraid to Ask About Exalytics. Download your free copy at kpipartners.com/books. We also invite you to follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @KPIPartners. Thank you for everyone for joining us on today's webinar, and thank you to Adam and Gerbina for presenting. Take care, everyone.